Right. We're good? We're good. Now, do I need to do the like classic YouTube creator intro where they don't actually talk about the content for many minutes and all they do is remind people the workings of YouTube, how to like and how to subscribe. I'm gonna do that. Let's do that. Let's try again. What's up, guys? My name's Ben, and welcome. Oh fuck! No, hang on. Remember to like, share, and subscribe. It's so bad. It's so cringy. I don't get it. And then they say things like, a lot of you have been asking, mate. No one has been asking. In fact, the only person asking is probably like themselves. They like make a fake account and then they comment saying like, "Oh, please tell me your makeup routine or where you walk your dog." I don't fucking know. And it's really just them. I used to do that on Bebo. Jesus, showing my age here. Bebo was like pre-MySpace, if anyone recalls that. And you could have a like thing on your page where like anonymous, you could write a message but you could make it anonymous. And it would just come up with the like IP address. I used to put it on my own. I used to write on my own one, being like, "Ben, you're such a loser. Everyone hates you." And then I would see people respond, being like, "Leave Ben alone. He's cool." And then I felt really good about myself. Oh, good times. Well, anyway, hello. Yes, my name is Ben. And it's good to be here. Thanks for joining me on this journey in my podcast endeavors. I've thought about doing this for a very long time. And every time I thought about it, I just thought I would be the like classic podcast wanker, which evidently in the last 3 minutes of rambling is true. Because there's so many people that make these podcasts for no reason. But look, I think this one is important. So this is the Universal Language of Music podcast. And I kind of feel like I owe it to music. It's been such an amazing part of my life. It's given me meaning. It's allowed me to better connect with my emotions. It's allowed me to share a creative outlet in my life. And it's just a pretty incredible thing to talk about. So I'm going to talk about it at length. And I hope that if you are watching or listening to this, that it is something that you would like to be a part of as well, something you'd like to talk about with me and come along for this journey, because it's a really, really... Oh, music is just awesome, hey. My goodness. And the other reason that I've decided to start doing this now. So I grew up in Melbourne in Australia, for those that don't know. And recently, about 4 months ago, I moved to this town in Australia called Onslow. And look, it couldn't be much more in the middle of nowhere if it wanted to. It's in the like northwest of Western Australia. It's got about 850 people here in this town. We're 80 kilometers off the main highway, so we don't even get like people coming through. Sometimes there's not much fuel. There's a general store, which is pretty shit. And there's like a pub, which is, not bad. But other than that, there's not much. If you want to buy socks, the nearest location to buy socks is 300 kilometers away. It is a 3-hour drive to the next town. There are many circumstances why I moved here, but goodness me, if you want to test how lonely you can get, come to a town like Onslow with 850 people in it and see how you go. So, to avoid myself spiraling further into insanity and going completely out of control, I think now is a better time than ever to start this podcast, because I get to talk to myself, but it kind of feels like a conversation because people will listen, I hope. And then you can be a part of this in the future as well. So it's a good time to start. I've really been digging into everything I love about music in the last few months since I moved up here. I've been practicing all the instruments. So I've been doing some singing and working on an album as well. So there's lots going on. It's a good time. It's a better time than ever to start talking about the universal language of music podcast. So I want to talk a little bit more about meaning and purpose in life. Because as I've been thinking about making this show and this series, I've doubted it a fair bit. I've doubted the point of it. And I've had this same experience, to be honest, when I've been releasing music in the past, or even the plan of releasing music in the future. It can be quite a daunting thing if you have some sort of creative outlet and you decide to share it with the world. I mean, I started playing music when I was about 7 years old, and growing up, it was just my escape. It was my release. It was my passion. And I never really wanted it to be anything more than that. I was really happy with the freedom it gave me. That there was no time that I felt more pure and more in tune with myself than when I was sitting at the piano for 2 hours and learning something, or just playing freely, coming up with a shit song and yelling some words to it and then going from there. They were really special moments growing up. They were independent moments. I didn't really do them with anyone else. I didn't really share them with anyone else. And that's all music was for my life. But geez, as the years went on, it started to kind of overtake me, particularly when I was trying to search for something to do career-wise, and how to make a living and how to contribute to the world. This passion of music that I had just became more and more at the front of my mind, to the point where I felt, okay, I'm going to actually change this up and try and make something of this passion. Try and make something of music. I don't want to be famous. Well, yeah, I'm not trying to be famous. I'm certainly not even slightly close to that. A couple of viral videos every now and then. But fame is not what drives me. It's the chasing of this passion. I think if something in life can give you this much meaning, then it's worth exploring. You know, it's worth appreciating. It's worth investigating. It's worth loving. So yeah, I started to change the way that I went about music and the approach that I had to music, and to try and make a career out of it. The first thing I did was release some songs, or try to release songs. And I'm still doing that now, and that's a big learning curve. And that was very, very, very daunting, because, well, in a lot of elements in music, I'm a bit shit, and I'm trying to get better, and I'm constantly learning. But I didn't really want to release any of these songs that I had, because I didn't think they were good enough, or I sounded good enough in them, or I played this part good enough, or whatever. And it's such a deeply personal and emotional thing for me. It's such a release for my mindset. Evidently, I'm not quite good. Yeah, there you go. I'm not that good at talking and conveying my thoughts just in open conversation. I'm better writing them down, but I'm even better releasing them through song. So yeah, it was such a personal thing for me to try and release these songs. And then when I did, how do you judge that? You can't judge it on fame, because if you judge it on fame, it's never going to be enough. Like you can never be that famous. I don't know why I'm saying this like I know, because I'm not, I've got no idea. But I imagine if you're driven by, you know, how many people listen to it or how many Instagram followers or whatever that you have, then it's never going to be enough. And so that was a bit of a learning curve because, you know, no one thinks more about you in life than you. So I'm well aware that, you know, most of the time no one cares, but it's an interesting position to be in when you pour your heart and soul into something for then people to just dismiss it like that. You know, like, well, I do it. I listen to a song for 10 seconds. I'm like, nah, this is shit. But it's like someone's whole life's work and purpose and ethos into this little microcosm of their existence in a 3-minute song. And you listen to it for 5 seconds and you're like, oh, no, they sound shit. And then you just turn it off. So that's really interesting. And I think for anyone that has a creative outlet, that these circumstances can be reflected or mirrored in all of these arts. But if you do have a creative outlet, then you are giving the world something special. The world needs creativity. The world needs creative people. And you've got to stick true to your own guns about why you actually want to release it to the world, because for a lot of creative people, it's an independent, it's a personal thing. So yeah, don't get driven by fame, but on the other side, if there is just one person in the world who hears your music or sees your painting or watches your dance or looks at your video or whatever, and they connect with it on their own emotional level and their own personal level, that is one of the most extraordinary things that you can get out of life. It really is. It's so magical. And it gives, well, for me, it gives me the purpose and the meaning of as to why I'm doing all these things. So that's a very long-winded way, essentially, to say that there may be no one that listens to this, but if there is someone, and there's someone that connects with these stories and whatever, well then, hey, you're giving my life meaning, and I hope in some way that this is giving your life just a little bit too. And look, if nothing else, this is a chance for any music nerd or any music geek out there to really go full geek and full nerd and just immerse ourselves with historical recountings of music literature, or how music affects the brain, and the best live concert you've ever been to, and whatever you want to talk about or whatever I want to talk about musically, it's going to come up in this, and I'm going to geek out, and it's going to be bloody glorious. So if you don't care, then get stuffed. That's not the right thing to say to prospective listeners. I apologize. Let's enjoy this together. So essentially in my life, I've had two great passions: music and travel. I love traveling. I love exploring. I love getting out and seeing the world in all its glory and all its beauty. And traveling's been big for me. I've been very lucky to be able to travel, but I have pursued a career in the tourism industry and in the travel industry as well. And I'll talk about that a fair bit as this series goes on, because I think it ties in with music quite nicely. In fact, I'll talk about that a little bit now. Why not? Hey, because when you get out of your normal life cycle and the normal places you go and the things you do, the scenery that you go to or the place that you go to has this power to really make you enjoy the present moment and just be in that moment. You know, it could be a beautiful sunset, or it could be a kangaroo in the distance, or it could be all sorts of things. A nice wave at a beach. There's these like little moments. The stars. Geez, that's a good one. God, I love the stars. But you know, these little moments, they make life awesome. They put you in the present moment, and nothing else matters in that moment. You're not thinking about, you know, what Magda said to you about Agnes in the workspace, and Agnes called you a cow, and Magda was telling you, you're not thinking about that. I don't know why Magda and Agnes are the first names that came to my mind there, like it's some 1980s perm workplace. But anyway, yeah, Magda can say whatever she wants, but I don't care. I'm looking at a beautiful sunset. I'm not worried about the number of Instagram comments I'm getting on my posts, or you're not worried about the bill that you have to pay coming up or whatever. You're literally just there in that moment, and you're just enjoying the beauty of the world and the beauty of life. And so in my travels, and in my exploring of Australia mostly, but parts of the world as well, there's this certain topic, there's a certain theme that I look for when I travel, and that's authenticity. I think authenticity is one of the most important things in life, and particularly in travel, because those authentic moments can also be those small moments. It's not just a beautiful landscape, but it's an interaction with someone else. It's an interaction with a local. It's getting offered some food that you wouldn't eat, or trying something that you haven't tried, or doing something you haven't done before. These little authentic moments that aren't put on for the tourist, for the mass tourist. It could be in a little laneway that you see some sort of magical little cafe, or you stumble upon a local event, and it blows your mind in this like native, pure, raw authenticity that surrounds it. That they're the really special moments that I look for, and the moments that resonate with me and stay with me and stay with my life. And so when you talk about authenticity, a lot of that is related to culture. The culture of a place, the culture of a person that you're visiting. It's all very, very authentic when it's done properly. And, sometimes I see at an airport, for example, you land and there's like a makeshift cultural welcoming, some sort of dance or something going on. But it's not authentic though, is it? It's inauthentic. It's still representative of the culture and relevant to the place that you're in. But it's a bit staged, and people might like that, and people might get something from that. Personally, I don't, but all the more power to you. People like to lie on a beach and at a 5-star resort for 10 nights, and that's absolutely fine. For me, that's not what I like to do. I like to try and get to the nuts and the bolts of the place, and really experience something that I haven't experienced before, and let that cultural authenticity take over and allow me to develop like not a new personality, but a new willingness to try new things and be open to new things. And I think that's a concept that deserves to be talked about much more. And the other thing about that is that traveling does that. But I also think music is one of the most authentic cultural experiences you can ever experience. It's something I've been fascinated with for quite a long time. This cultural representation through music. Music has this incredible power because it is steeped in history in a lot of cultures, but it also represents the present. It represents an individual's feelings, but it's collectively enjoyed and collectively embodied by a group of people to represent their collective culture. Music can transcend generations. It can bring two people with complete different views on the world together. It can be sung in a language that you don't understand, but you still understand what they're talking about. You could have no words, and it still conveys an emotion. It is the most pure form of authentic culture I think you could ever experience. And that is a really, really... that essentially is the crux of what I'm going to be covering in this series. I've seen dozens and dozens of food related culture documentaries and episodes and series where people like Rick Stein or something goes to a country, and to learn about the culture, they learn about the food. And food does represent the culture, but I haven't seen it being done very much with music. So I'm going to try and fill that gap to the best of my ability through this series. So I think it's worth talking about the format and how I'm going to do this, because this is just an introduction. There's going to be, a lot of episodes throughout this time. This will go on for quite a while. I'm going to try and release these things every fortnight, and it'll be in the format as follows. So what I've got first is I've been doing all this research, and I've put them into these chapters or blog posts. And so the blogs will be up on my website, benwitkowskimusic.com. Just look for the Universal Language of Music page, and all the blogs will be there. So that's these are really research intensive. They take quite a long time, but again, I feel it's important to really make sure that I'm talking about the right things. People have spent their entire lives studying, analyzing, and presenting some of the topics that I'll be talking about. And so I don't mean to gloss over some of them, but I just genuinely am not that smart, pretty much. So I don't know as much as other people know. But when I've been researching these topics, I've been trying to get enough of the information to make it relevant to the story that I want to take people on when I do this. So I might gloss over things at times. I could be wrong. I hope I'm not wrong, but I could be wrong at times. But yeah, the blogs are there to serve as a bit of a base understanding. They're quite technical, they're quite formal, but they do really open up this understanding of that cultural authenticity of music, and really set the standard or set the base level for everything related about music being a universal language. And then I was thinking, well, I should probably record that as well, and have that in an audiobook format. So that will also be part of the podcast series. I would do an audiobook reading, literally word for word, of the blog post that I've released. So you don't have to read it if you don't want. You can just listen to me depict it in a very nice formal tone. And then this is the last piece of the puzzle. This is the discussion, the chat, the podcast. I really felt it was important to get that kind of formal part of it done with the blog and the audiobook. But this is where I can really start to connect some of my own thoughts, and hopefully some of your thoughts as well, to really paint the picture for anyone that wants to listen to this, who might not be that interested in the music geeky side of it, and just wants to, they might know that they love music, or that music has given them something in life, but they don't really know how to talk about it or what to say. So I'm hoping that's what these chats will be. They'll be just like just where I can talk about how good music is in just whatever way I can. I'll share my own stories. I'll go into some meanings of songs I've written, talk about why I like playing the instruments I play, and talk about bands that I like or live concerts that I've been to. I'll try and relate the content that I'm covering in the blogs and the audiobooks, and just explain them a bit more informally, and then really tie in everything. So I think that's those three things: the blog, the audiobook, and then the podcast, really will collectively cover all the aspects we need to cover about learning about this brilliant, brilliant thing that is music. And, in the podcast, there'll be interviews. I'll chat to some mates. I'll chat to some experts in that particular field. I'll talk to anyone. If anyone wants to be interviewed, anyone wants to chat about music, then yeah, bloody go for it. Just give me a line, mate, and we'll sort that out. So that's me. Hello, I'm Ben. That was my first attempt at a podcast. I'm very excited to have you here. I hope that wasn't too, what's that word? Clickbaity. What's up, guys? I'm going to tell you 3 things that you really need to know about music. The first one is that you got to subscribe to this channel. Oh, that's not funny. Okay, sorry. It's kind of funny. I just don't get it. I just don't get the world of YouTube, but this is my attempt. Well, YouTube and podcasting. We'll see how we go. But yeah, I really want this to be something that people can connect to. So if you have any thoughts, any feedbacks, any suggestions, you want to be on the show, you've got something you want me to talk about on behalf of you, just let me know. And settle in. They'll be these things will be released every fortnight. There's a whole heap of information to cover. I'm really excited to get stuck into it. And thank you. Yeah, that's it, I reckon. I'll see you around. Cheers.